Welcome, everyone. This is Andres Restart. Thank you all for coming in tonight for this Nintendo Direct Eve of Hype stream. The Nintendo Direct is tomorrow, and we're going to be kind of just, talking about what we may see tomorrow a little bit, sharing the excitement, the hype, and just kind of like, it is what it is. Like, it's a quick little night show. We'll do some Q&A, and yeah, I mean, I'm excited. There are a couple talking points I want to go over. Actually, more than a couple, at least three. I have three talking points, one of which is related to maybe a hint at something really big being in the show. Maybe. Yeah, I'm excited. I think a lot of you here are probably excited. Thank you for a like so far. If you guys could let me know how everything is looking and sounding, I would very much appreciate that. I don't know. It feels like, first off, the camera feels a little blurry. I'm not sure what's going on, if it's a StreamYard thing, if it's a my camera thing. It's running at the normal resolution. Maybe what it is that I've gotten so used to having Brandon that when the camera's smaller, I don't know. So it looks a little fuzzy, but it's getting the job done. I apologize if it's, visually it's a little underwhelming. But, I'm just on camera. It's nothing crazy anyways. But I see Connor telling me everything sounds good. Thank you. I appreciate that. So before I get into my talking points and I check in with you guys in the chat, I want to highlight something here. So last week, I missed a super chat, and I just want to, I would like to make sure that I cover that super chat now because I feel bad for missing it. I did highlight it at the end in the comments. It was the bingo stream. Yeah, it was the bingo stream. And so looking at the comments here, okay, so all right, so yeah, free Metroid hat. If you're watching this, thank you. I don't know if you saw me highlight your super chat in the comments from last week because I missed it at the end of our bingo stream last week. But you had said whoever shows off Prime 4 has to be wearing a Metroid hat or shirt. And I agree. There better be a Metroid hat or shirt, which interestingly would be my All right, so technically my bingo card wouldn't be wrong. All right, let me show you guys my bingo card here. I don't know why I'm coughing on my saliva. I don't know. My saliva must be excited. Actually, I just got back from the gym. I should have probably drank this sooner. I think I still have a few minutes before it's like, it's fine. Anyway. Man, I almost died from my saliva. That's crazy. Let me show you my bingo card real quick. I know you guys saw this, that watched it yesterday. Not yesterday, last week. But I did update it. I updated it. And if you watched Nintendo Prime stream, you may know how I updated it. But I would like to... Why is it not loading? Nothing's working today. I clicked on the file, and it's just refusing to show up. Fortunately, I have where the program where I edited the image, but I already had the image like ready to show, and it's just like blank, which is so weird. Anyways, I'll just show you. I'm still showing you the bingo card. Let's see. Okay. I just wanted to show you the actual file itself. Instead, I'm just showing you where I edited the file. So there's the bingo card we ended up with last week, right? But on the note of someone wearing like a Metroid hat or shirt, one of my bingo spots is Takahashi, the typical presenter in the Nintendo Directs, to be in a suit. However, I kind of want to see him on stage the way they were on stage when they announced the restart for Metroid Prime 4, except this time I want them to be in a suit and be like, hey, so I know you've been waiting a long time, Metroid fans. It's time. Metroid Prime 4. So one of my bingo card spots is Takahashi in a suit. However, if you were to be wearing a Metroid shirt or hat, that might get in the way of that. But you could technically be wearing a suit, hat, like, you could have like a coat or jacket, have a shirt under, or you'd be wearing a Metroid hat, like, and still have the suit. So it's still possible. It could work out. And addressing the change I put in my bingo card, I did replace Kirby with Silk Song, even though I recognize how crazy it may be to predict Silk Song with how many times we predicted it. You could make the argument, a similar argument, Metroid Prime 4, but at least we have interesting evidence for both that they're not too far off, because we have the ratings for Silk Song, we have there's a lot of things, right? But there's nothing's guaranteed. Anyways, I swapped this out with Kirby just because I feel like, well, maybe they could give us another remaster. I would actually love to see Kirby Robobot. That would be pretty cool, remastered on Switch. But we just got a remaster of a 2D Kirby last year, and I kind of think that they're going to want to follow up the most successful Kirby game to date, Forgotten Land, with a sequel early for Switch 2. So I'm just not sure what kind of significant Kirby offering they're going to put out. Maybe, they still do put Kirby in the Direct. That's totally possible. It could be another spinoff, or maybe it is another remaster, or what have you. There's so many options, but I just put it in there. I can't. There's only so many spots left, right? But anyways, that's my bingo card update. They're not really my predictions. It's kind of like just some fun things. I mean, they're somewhat based off my predictions, but not entirely. So anyway, yeah, I just want to update you guys on that. I will be getting to my talking points. I guess I could save them and just get to the chat here. That makes sense, actually. So Taker610 with a super chat. Thank you for your super chat, Taker. Taker asks, I wonder if we'll get Zelda casting tomorrow. I'm not expecting that. So we did have a Nintendo Direct where they announced the Mario casting, but that was in a September Direct. And that's probably the main reason why I won't entertain the possibility more so. Just because I kind of think that for a summer Direct, it's going to be more focused on announcements. I mean, something to keep in mind here, Nintendo has a lot to talk about. Like, I know there's a lot of people saying, hey, temper your expectations. It's the end of a generation, blah, blah, blah. We get it. Keep an open mind, right? Just because you don't get what you want doesn't mean the Direct is bad. I agree. But there are still games to be announced for the second half of the year. It's totally vacant. Nintendo has told their investors they're aiming to sell 13.5 million Switches. They're still going to have strong software sales based off their financials. So, they need to put out stuff. There needs to be games. There needs to be announcements. And so I think this Direct is going to be busy giving us content to worry about throughout this year. And so I don't think they need something like the Zelda cast announcement in this Direct to kind of fill it up. I think that's something they could save for a later presentation, maybe in September. So I'm kind of thinking no. But, I will say that Planet of the Apes movie is done now, right? So they are working on the Zelda movie. So, maybe they already have a cast in mind. So maybe they could do it. I don't think we're super far off from having a cast announcement. So we'll see. But I'm thinking maybe a little bit later this year, if not next year. Adam Rohn, been a member for 14 months, says, yo to you as well. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. And now to the chat. Where is the live chat? I cannot see it. Here it is. I have found the live chat. Here we go. All right. Robeer 2. I found this channel during the hype for the Metroid Prime 4 E3 announcement, and here we are 7 years later. Skullface. Well, hopefully now's the time. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on there. All right. Let's see here. Buddy. Sony wins his holiday with Astrobot, and next year, when GTA 6 drops, Switch at end of life, all remasters, no Metroid Prime 4, no show again. Let's see. Astrobot looks cool, but Nintendo's going to put out some games. So let's judge once we see what they have to offer. Johnny Hernandez, what's up, bro? I'm hyped for this Direct tomorrow. It's about time Nintendo gives us a Direct. We've been waiting and waiting. It has been a long time. The last time we got a General Direct was last September. So typically we would have had at least one General Direct in the February time slot. Instead, we got a partner showcase. So yeah, I definitely think this one's been a long time coming. And, I'm definitely excited tomorrow, regardless of what they have to bring. Connor asked me, hey, Andres, how's it going? Okay, for this Nintendo Direct, I hope we get one final chance at Tamagotchi Life finally coming to Switch, and also adding the Metopia Mii Maker with it. Yeah, I actually I think I put Tamagotchi Life in my predictions. So, I think there's a chance that happens. RNL Atsy, I think we'll get everything that we've been hoping for. Wouldn't that be the dream? All right, so here's my first talking point. And I'll come back to the chat in a moment. This is not a long talking point. It's just something that I kind of, was thinking about. So what I'm going to talk about is not my predictions per se. It's not my bingo card. It's just kind of like a dream direct scenario, but with some semblance of reality. I guess what I'm ultimately trying to get at here is that there is a possibility, and I don't want to say it's a high one, right? Because again, temper your expectations, sure. But I think there is a possibility that we watch the Nintendo Direct tomorrow. They do tease Metroid Prime 4. They give us a trailer of some kind. They get us excited. We finally have our first look. We have a 2025 release year window. Maybe they mentioned Metroid Prime 2 is on the way. But that doesn't cover, the significant content for this year, right? And so we could get a Metroid Prime 4 reveal and then have exciting games for this year. So like we do get 2D Zelda, right? That there are rumors and leaks that seem to suggest that. So we get a new 2D Zelda this year. That'd be pretty cool. That would be something that would be significant. And like there could even be some small things, right? Like Nate the Hate's predicting an F-Zero GX or F-Zero something. Now that's his prediction. That's not necessarily a leak, but it has been rumored. Is now finally the time for F-Zero. That wouldn't be like a big seller, but it would be a nice in-between game, and something that would be extremely exciting to me at least. And then, in terms of like having big releases, right, for this year, like I said, 2D Zelda, but what if Nintendo has another surprise title? Something that can kind of push sales a little bit. There is that supposed codename project of Silver Star, and I theorized that Silver Star could have maybe been that rumored Donkey Kong game from a few years ago that supposedly the Odyssey team was working on. So what if there's like a 3D Donkey Kong game that Nintendo's been sitting on, saving it for this last holiday before Switch 2? So Nintendo could close out the Switch era in terms of it being the primary focus with a 2D Zelda game and a 3D Donkey Kong, but then also give us a trailer of Prime 4. Like, yeah, that's extremely optimistic. Maybe that's not a realistic bet to expect all those things, but I don't think it's impossible. And so that's very interesting. That's like a dream scenario, though, right? That's not like me thinking, oh, we're going to get all of that. Like, I think something's got to give, right? Like maybe Donkey Kong is further out, for example, so we'll see. But yeah, it's just kind of a dream scenario that I'm kind of excited about the possibility of, but I'm open to completely different things happening instead. Hello there, Having Hope. Hello there, Anthony Nelson. Oscar Dinos, Metroid time. I'm praying. You, hello there. Bradley Tucker, looking towards Metroid Prime 4 announcement. Damon, Metroid Dread 2. Boo Mini, hello. Typical dev, I'm expecting nothing exciting, just ports to Titus until Switch 2. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of people make this point, and I think I kind of already explained my perspective. I think there's going to be a lot of ports, remasters, remakes. I agree. But I do think there's going to be a couple titles that will be pretty exciting. Because as I brought up earlier, Nintendo still needs to sell hardware. Nintendo still needs to sell software. And I don't think you do that with just remakes and remasters. There's got to be a few heavy hitters. Now, those heavy hitters aren't necessarily, the next 3D Mario, the next 3D Zelda. But, Mario Party would do well. A new 2D Zelda would do well. Maybe something Donkey Kong would do pretty well. A remaster, I'm assuming it's a remaster, but based off the success of Miitopia, which was also a remaster of Tamagotchi Life would do well. So my point is simply that I think we should think about things that Nintendo will want to put out in order to have a successful holiday season, financially speaking, right? Because if they just give us like, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, which would be good, but I don't think it'd be as good as a 2D Zelda game, right? If they just give us like F-Zero, Star Fox Remaster, Kid Icarus Remaster, like those are all extremely exciting things to me, right? But are they going to hit their financial targets? I don't think so. So I think they need to have a few big new games. Maybe not the kind of games that you want to wait until Switch 2 for, right? So like, Mario Party 2D Zelda, you don't need a 4K capable console for those kinds of games. But yeah, so I expect a little bit of a blend. And if they tease some things for next year, like Prime 4 maybe, then, I think we could be in for a direct that's pretty exciting. And I'm assuming Prime 4 is 2025. That's not guaranteed. We don't know the status of this game yet. And hopefully we find out during this direct. So, I just think we, again, as I said it multiple times, go in with an open mind. We'll see what happens. But on the note of Metroid, because I know a lot of you are talking Metroid, there's something going on that's given me a little bit more hope that something Metroid is showing up tomorrow. And that something is the big something. That something is Metroid Prime 4. Okay. All right. Okay, let me show you. It's crazy. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably already know what I'm talking about. If you're on Twitter, you may already know what I'm talking about. It's a big deal. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not a big deal. I kind of think it might. You know what? I'm going to put a poll after I show you guys. Okay? I'm going to put a poll once I show you this. And I want you guys to tell me, is this something or nothing? Okay? Maybe that'd be a good segment. Is this something or nothing? Okay. So, let me share this with you guys. So, a leaker that likes to hunt other leakers has come out of the woodworks, has been in silence for a long time. But they said something interesting today. Am I sharing it with you guys? Yeah, I'm sharing it with you guys. Okay. I reposted this because I thought this was cool. Silex Hunter, the murderer of Samus Hunter, the destroyer of Marco Maro and others, I don't know. The person who initially hinted at an F-Zero project that we now know is F-Zero 99. This person who has shown to have some level of inside knowledge said this today. Me when I get asked what I'm going to do with the Metroid I took. And I'll play this clip here. I think you guys could hear it. Let me know if you guys could hear it.
To be honest, Jimmy, I don't think that's any of your business. Well, to be honest, Jimmy, I don't think that's any of your business.
All right. So let me know if you guys could actually even hear that. Were you guys able to hear it, the clip? You're just saying, to be honest, that's none of your business, right? And this is referencing to when he gets asked what he's going to do with the Metroid he took. So for those that don't understand the context, okay, thank you guys for letting me know you were able to hear the clip. So for those that don't understand the context of what's being said here, at the end of Metroid Prime Federation Force, which is a game that came out 2016 on the Nintendo 3DS, it was like the most hated Metroid game ever because we were waiting for Metroid Prime 4 with no news on that or an announcement, and it was during the Wii U times where we barely had any games, and so they gave us a chibi version of Metroid that wasn't even really Metroid on 3DS, and so a lot of people were pissed off at it. But at the end of Prime Federation Force, the game was kind of used to sort of explain more of the lore, tell us more about the world of the Federation Force, right? The people that Samus works with sometimes. And so at the end of Federation Force, Silex, a hunter that we see in Metroid Prime Hunters, the multiplayer hunter game on DS, but also the hunter that is pursuing and or following Samus at the end of the trilogy, Metroid Prime 3. This hunter breaks into the Federation Force or sneaks in and steals a Metroid, hatches a Metroid egg, and steals a baby Metroid. And so that's the context here. We know that Silex has been explained in interviews as well from Tanabe that Silex is going to play somewhat of a role with the story of Prime 4. Has that changed over the last in the last few years? We're not sure, but that's the little kind of nuggets we've known from interviews from Tanabe that Silex is supposed to play a role with the story after Prime 3, Prime 4. And so is this something, is it just hinting at, maybe, like it's Silex, right? So I think it's interesting that he's all of a sudden starting to talk, playing coy or what have you about Metroid stuff. So I'm gonna put a poll, right? Is this something or is this nothing? Is this Silex Hunter tweet something or nothing? Let me finish writing the options here. Something. Nothing. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's something, but it could easily be nothing, right? He could just be having fun. But it's interesting because Silex Hunter does not talk very often. He does not speak on rumors or leaks very often. It's extremely rare. And now with all this excitement right before the direct, is he, building up the hype? Let me know what you guys think in the poll. Something or nothing. Yeah. Shout out to Nintendo Prime in the chat. What's up, buddy? Hype. So me getting back to where I was in the chat from earlier. Okay, I think I found where I was at, so I can go through. Spiromancer, it is time. Hello there, Alyssa. The real J Stone asks me, I am currently playing SMT5 while watching your live stream. Nice. The new one hasn't come out. Is it Vengeance? The new version of it. Connor, don't worry. Whatever I think Kirby is totally possible. There's so many possibilities. I didn't put the Nintendo World Championships NES edition, even though that game's already announced, so we'll see what happens. Boomini adds me. Nintendo Prime added Andres Restart, gets annoyed on his bingo card. You have officially been challenged to keep a positive composure on the entire direct. So, I thought it was funny he did this because if you go back and watch the Nintendo Directs, I feel like I'm usually pretty positive, Like I'm never like, are there times I'm like, oh man, I really wish they had this or that? Yeah. Like I felt that way. Like I'll tell you, I remember the June Direct last year, when they revealed Mario Wonder. I was actually slightly disappointed just because I don't know. I guess I was hoping for something else. But overall, I thought, actually, thinking back on it, I thought the announcements in that direct were good. I was somewhat negative on the direct, or I guess I was critical, I should say, just because I felt that Nintendo announced too many Mario Universe series and they weren't using any of their other IP. So I felt like the variety was a little lacking. And there was a couple gaps in the lineup, and then there are other times where things are kind of bunched up. And that was it. I was critical of the direct in that way, but I wasn't like, oh, this direct was terrible. I'm not buying Mario Wonder. This game sucks. No, I loved Mario Wonder. I 100%ed it. So like, my point is that may have been the most negative I had been for a direct, and it wasn't even really that negative. So in terms of me being annoyed, I mean, if they tell me Metroid Prime 4 is canceled during the direct, that would annoy me. I mean, I'd be more than annoyed. I'd probably be heartbroken. But I also think that's impossible. So, I usually I'm pretty excited. Like, even if we don't get 2D Zelda, even if we don't get F-Zero, if we don't get Metroid Prime 4, if we don't get any of those things that I want, there's going to be something I like. I don't know. Like, if the direct just has Tamagotchi Life, Mario Party, and, like, I don't know, Detective Pikachu 3. If those are the 3 games that they're coming out for the rest of the year, okay, then I'll be annoyed. Sure. But I really don't think that's going to be the lineup. I think that those games might happen, except for Detective Pikachu 3, but they're going to vary it up. There's going to be a blend, right? Like if they do that, maybe there's like a remaster of Star Fox Assault. Like I think there's going to be a little bit for everyone is my point. So I'm not worried. I'm usually pretty positive after the directs, even if it doesn't have exactly what I was looking for. because I try to keep an open mind and consider other possibilities. All right, moving on with the chat here. Is R3 Light? Hello there. Been a member for 4 straight months. It's been good having you. Hello there, Brandon White. Netweed09. My big hope is Donkey Kong 3D, the perfect cheeky response to the recent Perfect Dark reveal on Xbox. Interesting. Yeah, kind of a callback to the days of Rare. I see where you're coming from with that. Deadman Walking 89. Hey, Andres. Really hoping for Metroid and Zelda majority, but I'd like to see something Star Fox happen. My out there wish is Eternal Darkness HD as well. Haha. Hype responsibly. Ooh, I would love an Eternal Darkness HD, and I think they could actually. I think they'll have to rethink some of like the kind of like, fourth wall breaking mechanics. But there's a lot of options with the Switch and the Joy-Cons and all, so they can make something really interesting. And it could still be a callback to that game in most of the ways, but there would be some differences that would make it kind of a unique experience at the same time. So I think that'd be very cool. I never actually played that game, so I'd be very happy to see it. Nerd Zone. Mario Party is my realistic guess for holiday game 2024. I think that is definitely a very solid choice. Shout outs to Free Metroid Hat. Been a member for 5 straight months. Glad to see you, buddy. Maybe we'll see that Metroid hat in the direct tomorrow. Arnell adds me. I first heard of your channel on a Game Explain video. Yeah, I've done a couple discussions with both Joey and Jake. I love the guys at Game Explain. They're awesome. Damon39 adds me, Switch Micro. So I think it's an interesting thing to bring up. I do think there's a chance that Nintendo does announce some sort of small, cheap revision this year, maybe like a month or two after this Direct, maybe next month even. Like, I think that's definitely possible, but I don't expect it in the Direct is my main point, just because if you look at the announcements for Switch Lite, you look at the announcements for Switch OLED, they didn't happen in the Directs. They happened like after the summer Direct. So if Nintendo has some sort of other revision in mind, then they would announce that after this Direct. Joycey J, thank you for modding. Adds me and says, Metroid Prime 4 is happening. I'm betting on it. Ooh, how much? How much? A little bit of joy, a lot of joy, money, credibility. This comment. Mishwick Pops asks me, Sonic Center has been more active than usual, which makes me think it could be announced tomorrow. Yeah, I kind of feel like it. Like, listen, nothing's guaranteed, but I think it's obviously worth having a conversation because we are having the conversation right now. But interestingly, looking at the poll, the something nothing, it's 52-48. Like, it's pretty split. Chicken Nugget. Midori deleted their account earlier today after they got exposed. Bunch of Persona fans are devastated. Midori's deleted their account like twice. Like, I saw that they had posted like this entire thread of an apology a few days ago. I clicked on it and then it was gone, and I clicked on the account and then I couldn't see it anymore. And then I saw a notification again today for like the same thing. So I don't know, weird. And I checked I wonder if it was like a delayed notification, but then I checked the comments and they were just a few minutes ago. So it's like they did it twice. Like, maybe they just like suspended their account or something and they got reactivated and it got like deleted immediately after. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if like they're like privating their account or something after seeing the negative feedback. It's weird. But what's becoming clear to me is that this person, like, they definitely, they want to try and salvage some sort of a semblance of a relationship that they have with their followers. I don't know why they keep deleting their account, though. So, it's odd. But the whole situation's weird. It is. I'm sure there are drama channels that have already covered it. For me, I just care about, is the information they've provided accurate? And so far, so good. But we'll see what happens in this Direct. I think that will be telling for some of the things they've discussed recently that are more Nintendo relevant. Sand Talks Games asks me, you should put up a poll on if we think Metroid Prime 4 will be here. Solid Center, Nate the Hate, and Jeff Grubb were hinting at it. Interesting. Where did Nate the Hate hint at it? And I haven't seen what Jeff Grubb has said. I saw Nate the Hate's podcast. It seems like he's just predicting it. In his prediction show, he said he was like 51-49. Like, he doesn't seem extremely confident on it. Jeff Grubb, I'm curious what Jeff Grubb said. I haven't seen that yet. Was it in a video? Was it on Twitter? Let's see. Did he say anything on Twitter recently? Oh, he did repost the bet between Kit and Krista about whether they see Prime 4 or not in the Direct, and Kit saying that we see it, and if not, he has to shave his head. Okay. I think that's just more so a reference to that Jeff had to shave his head when Prime Remastered didn't come out for holiday 2022, but released February 2023. I don't know. I'm predicting Prime 4 is in the Direct tomorrow. That's my prediction, and I think it would be very strange for Nintendo to not at least acknowledge something about the game by this point, in my opinion. But we'll see what the Direct shows. Maybe the context of things could change my opinion on that. Yeah. But I could still put up a poll though, Sam. I'll let this something or nothing thing going because it's split right now. It's split. Let's see here. Omar David, salute Andre's restart. Chat on Andre's restart coming to Direct tomorrow. Seriously, I'm judging the Direct as if was it representative of a console launch. 13.5 projected console sales. Like, I think the Direct's gonna be pretty good. And I will be covering the Direct tomorrow. So my plans for tomorrow, yeah. So after this stream, this is not gonna be a long stream, by the way. I am going to schedule the live stream for tomorrow morning. So I'm going to have a pre-show, and I'm going to make it a little lengthy. I'm going to start live streaming an hour before the Direct. So I'll be streaming at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time. So an hour before the Direct starts. And then we'll watch the Direct. It'll be about a 40-minute presentation. And then I'll probably hang out for about 15 minutes or so. So basically about a 2-hour live stream as we're looking at tomorrow morning. Hopefully there are some big games to react to. I'll clip those out as their own little reaction things. As I know, a lot of people have talked about like my initial Metroid Prime 4 reaction video or like my initial Tears of the Kingdom reaction video. So I don't know. If we see Prime 4 tomorrow, I'll probably cry or scream or both or run. So yeah, tomorrow's gonna be a big day, right? So we're gonna do the live stream. There'll be some reactions. I'm planning a video to put out. We'll see. I don't know what the video is, right? It kind of depends on what happens in the Direct. But I'm hoping that there's a few good games to cover here, and I plan on covering them extensively, right? Like if there's a Zelda trailer tomorrow, you can bet that there will be a Zelda trailer analysis, right? There will be a Metroid Prime 4 trailer analysis. There will do these things. If there's an F-Zero remaster announcement, there will be a graphics comparison. So, this is kind of like the exciting thing for me about Directs beyond just the announcements. It's a lot more content that I can cover and do. And so there'll be a lot more variety to the discussions we're going to be having. There'll be a lot of new information. And so I plan on hitting the ground running in terms of covering things there. Maybe there will be time for a podcast tomorrow night. We will see. That's still up for grabs. We'll see. But yeah, tomorrow's gonna be a big day. Big day. Let's see here. Xcarve Unlimited. Nintendo Switch Micro will help it get to that 160 million plus. So many people like me who are stuck with the launch model want something new 7.5 years later. Yeah, if you're not really feeling like moving on to, waiting for Switch 2 or what have you, but you want some sort of upgrade that maybe is affordable, something like Switch Micro will make a lot of sense, and that would definitely help them to hit their sales targets, right? Like I think between a price drop, a new revision, some quality games, maybe another OLED edition, like all those things together can help them have strong sales for this fiscal year. But they're going to need some good games too. Let's see here. Deadman Walking 89, Metroid is a big deal. I agree. Metroid is a very big deal. And people are going to start to see that once Nintendo shows off Prime 4. That's my take. The Nintendo Project asks me, what if Metroid has Doom level movement with its Metroid twist? I just want to play a Metroid game with Dread level agility. You know, it's interesting you bring that up, right? Because you look at something like the recent Perfect Dark trailer, right? Where like she's running around, right? And we see her doing running on walls, climbing over ledges quickly, doing, dashes or sliding dashes. Basically, a lot of the movements you see in Metroid Dread. And really what we're seeing in Perfect Dark, these are just kind of like the norms for a lot of first-person shooters nowadays. A lot of first-person shooter nowadays are a lot more dynamic and fluid with their movement, running on walls and sliding around, continuing that momentum. And so in Metroid Prime game, they were a lot slower, but that was because of the times, right? I think when you when you think about first-person shooters nowadays or first-person adventures in the case of Metroid, right? They're going to want to modernize that FPS gameplay. And I think in part it is going to be about speeding up the movements, making it more fluid. And that would just be, kind of matching the standard of how first-person games play today. Like, it's not even like necessarily a crazy innovation, right? But then you talk about something like Doom, which does have a lot of interesting items and abilities that are very Metroid-esque. And so seeing something like that, but for Metroid, I think would be pretty cool. And then also, yeah, Samus is an agile character. You see how agile she is in Metroid Dread or other 2D Metroid games. They need to better translate that to 3D Metroid. And as I just discussed, when you look at just modern first-person games now, a lot of those problems have been solved already. Like, it's already known how you kind of get some of that done. Now, I'd be very curious to see what else Retro Studios can do to modernize Metroid, maybe even do more with the movement beyond what's been sort of become the standard for a lot of first-person shooters. I'm very curious on how they're going to do this, and maybe we see some of that tomorrow. We're not going to see everything about this game tomorrow, just so we're clear, right? Whatever, like, best case scenario, we do get a big trailer, but there will be more to learn about this game afterwards. But hopefully we have something. So, yeah, but I definitely agree. They got to speed up that movement for sure. Let's see here. The real J-Stone. If there's a Switch Micro, what is the most realistic thing? No Wi-Fi or digital-only hardware? Of those two, definitely digital only. There's no way you can't make a Switch without Wi-Fi. That's just no. That's just not gonna happen, right? It's absolutely gonna have Wi-Fi, right? Like, you can't make a Switch that can't go online. They can't download things from the eShop or get updates or download games. No, that doesn't make them money. First off, or not as much. But digital only hardware, I wouldn't predict that. Because I think, people, I don't think a Switch Micro would have either of those things, right? But of the two, digital only would be more likely. I don't think either are realistic, though, because you need to have Wi-Fi, as I just explained, and there's not much value in a system that people can't just put in their games for, I don't think. When there's such a large, vast library of cartridge games out there, and if you want people to double dip, but they can't use their cartridge games, there's not going to be that much double dipping. So I think it's just going to be, hey, listen, like, Switch has been out for years. They may have found a way to make it smaller and cheaper, and that's it. That's really it. I wouldn't even be surprised if you can dock it somehow. But, maybe that's the thing. It still can't dock like the Switch Lite. Just basically, it's just like a more compact, better version, newer version of the Switch Lite. All right. Eris Moore. If we ever get a new 3D Donkey Kong at the Direct, this year I'll scream my heart like, oh my god, let's go. I'll be the same way. I'll be so happy. It approaches says Prime is not fast paced. Do not want lol. Let's not change what the series is. I don't really agree. I mean, like as you brought up, like 2D Metroid has quick movement. Being able to move around quickly and like making a character, Samus, being someone who's fun to play and move around with, is not going to take away from the experience of Metroid. You know, there's still maybe moments where you'll want to kind of creep around because you may want to be cautious because you don't want to be caught. There may be some stealth moments, right? There may be a lot of dark, moments where it's a very small environment. So moving around won't give you a lot of options. Like, you may need to be cautious and careful. But it depends, So there are going to be moments where you're going to want to move around quickly when you're just going through a lot of combat sequences. And so I think creating a game where you have something that feels more like genuine Samus is still definitely Metroid. But I also think that with Metroid Prime 4, we should be expecting changes. Like, don't just expect Metroid Prime, like the same exact thing we saw in Prime Remastered, but just in different areas with a different story. There are going to be gameplay changes. They're guaranteed. There are going to be gameplay changes. To what extent, there's a lot of debate there, but there are going to be changes. I still think it'll feel like Metroid, though, and I'm also Prime. I will say, just thinking on it more, there is more conversation to have there, though, right? Because I love Breath of the Wild, I love Tears of the Kingdom, but there is a select group of people that don't feel that those games represent Zelda well. I don't agree, but those people exist. I'm sure some of you watching are in that camp, right? And so I can understand the concern there. But then also look at something like Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 is an evolution to the Pikmin series. There are a lot of changes to Pikmin in Pikmin 4. But I haven't heard much conversation on Pikmin 4 not feeling like a Pikmin game, right? So you can evolve a series without changing, like making it something else, right? Like it can still feel like what it's supposed to be at its core. For Zelda, there's debate to be had there, but I'm not saying it's going to be like Zelda, right? There's like I said with Pikmin, they did it, so I'm not concerned. I'm just excited to see what's next. Looking here at the chat, JR Otoki asked me, assume that a new 2D Zelda is shown tomorrow. What are 3 things you want to see in the game? Ooh, that's cool. Okay. So I think, let's see. What are 3 things you want to see in the game? I want to see dungeons, right? I want to see some dungeon gameplay, right? I do miss that dungeon gameplay, so I want to see that. I want to see some new items. I mean, obviously, if we see the game, we're going to see the visual look, right? So me saying, I feel like that wouldn't be fair. I want to see a story, right? I want to see, maybe where, like how it compares to other Zelda games. Like where we can put in the timeline. I'm not saying I want an exact answer, but I want something that we can have conversations about, And beyond that, I want to see how this game is different from prior 2D Zelda games. Like I don't like. Would I be content with, hey, listen, here's a 2D Zelda game. Here's the art style. It looks pretty cool, and it's basically like a Link Between Worlds, but with better graphics and a different map and dungeons with a different story. Like, if that's what it is, that would be cool. But I also want to see something new, some sort of innovation or interesting idea, right? Like with the Link Between Worlds, you had the Link that could go into like paintings and walls and stuff, right? Like that was a unique kind of twist. I want to see the unique twist. So that's what I'm kind of curious on. Like with Mario Wonder, it was the Wonder Flower, right? So that's kind of I think that's what it would be. The story, dungeons, and the unique twist. Netweed 09. It'll feel like Other M, but with a great story and, of course, a full-on adventure setting. And in first person with better controls and better visuals and a lot. I like Other M, but I think there are some cool things with Other M that they do in terms of like the grappling mechanics and the agility. Those are interesting points to bring up. William Kaku asked me here. Nintendo Japan posted something about a new Mario movie. Did they now? Let's see. Do I have any notifications from them? Interesting. I see something here. The news release, the Japanese theatrical release date for the new Super Mario Bros. The Japanese theatrical release date for the new Super Mario animated film by Illumination Nintendo has been set for April 24, 2026. The Japanese theatrical release date for the new Super Mario animated film. Is that the sequel? Right? Is that the sequel that we're talking about? This is the new Super Mario. I guess April 2026 is not that far away. It's far, sure. Okay, I mean that's news. That's pretty significant news. So the sequel to the Mario, the thing is the word doesn't say the sequel, so I don't know, but it just says the new Super Mario animated film by Illumination. So I assume they mean the next one, whatever it is that's already been announced. April 24, 2026. I assume that while that may be the Japanese theatrical release, what about like where it's going to release elsewhere? So what I want to look up now is Mario Bros. Movie theatrical release date Japan. So interestingly, the Mario movie released April 28th in Japan, 2023, so last year, right? And that sounds like we're around the same time it came out here in the United States. So it came out a few weeks earlier in the United States. It came out April 5th. So it really just sounds like this movie is coming out 3 years after the initial Mario movie, right? So I'm going to assume that the movie will be out a few weeks earlier here in the West, the same way it happened with the first one. So 3 years afterwards, that's honestly pretty reasonable. I don't think that's too crazy. And what's kind of interesting about that is that would mean we won't see anything about it this year, which I wasn't expecting anyways. But we'll start to hear things about the movie next year in 2025. We'll maybe get our first trailer in the second half of 2025, and the movie will be out in April, which makes perfect sense shortly after the release of what we're going to assume is a Switch 2 and a new 3D Mario. So I think it makes tons of sense. I think it's a great idea. Yeah, that's fine. But thank you for pointing that out, William Kaku. That is some significant news there. But, while I was checking Twitter, I noticed something else popped up. So, me double checking here. Okay, so looks like Puro said something interesting about the Direct. I haven't even read it yet, so it might not be that. I assume it's interesting because Puro said something. That doesn't mean it's actually interesting. But if Puro says something, it's usually interesting. So let's see what Puro had to say. I have no idea what it is. I saw a blurb of text. Well, let's see. So it looks like our friend Nintendo Land did this thing. Come on, Puro, come on, do something. Someone responds with this image here. He wants the Direct to be a real surprise. He doesn't have anything to leak, and the Direct is just JRPGs and farming simulators. Puro isn't tweeting much because, okay, so yeah, which one is it? Is it because he wants the Direct to be a surprise, or he doesn't have that much to leak? Puro responds, regarding JRPGs, they might talk about Raynaudis, including story DLCs and a demo. So Puro didn't really tell us, right? But he did say regarding JRPGs, they might talk about Raynaudis, including story DLCs and a demo. So I was kind of thinking that Raynaudis would be in the Direct. So it's nice to see that Puro is saying that. But they did not tell us. They have not said the Direct is going to be bad. And I think that's something it's worth noting because In the past, Pyoro has said that they're not that excited about a direct before. They've been asked about that, and this time they haven't said anything, but they have hinted at a few different leaks, as we discussed earlier. Ace Attorney, this like, I don't know, some sort of like dungeon, darkest dungeon. I'm not familiar with the series, but that was rated recently, and so he said that would be in the direct, or at least hinted at it with his reposts. And now he's saying Reynaudis, or that he's saying that they might talk about Reynaudis. So he's not even saying with as much confidence, which is very curious. I don't know. I don't think Pyoro has lost all their sources, clearly, because they have some, but they haven't said anything big yet. And that is interesting. It's very interesting. Maybe they'll say something else later. Link exists. Andre's Restart. Big Bro, what do you think of the odds are of finally seeing Metroid Prime 2 Remaster? I think it's pretty high. But I also think that there's a chance that if they decide not to mention Metroid Prime 4 at all tomorrow, that they won't do anything Metroid Prime 2. But listen, I'm going to stick to my guns. I predicted Metroid Prime 2 and I predicted Metroid Prime 4 to be into the direct. Could I be wrong? Sure. But, I think it's a solid prediction. Like, am I nervous because I want it so much and it might not be there? Yeah. But, I do think that Metroid Prime 2 is a very likely remaster. A very likely one. I don't know if it'll have significant enhancements like the first one, but I do think it's very likely that we're going to see Metroid Prime 2. And, why not now? I mean, maybe they could wait a few months, but yeah, I am predicting it for tomorrow. We'll see. Yeah, so Pyoro has been pretty quiet. I agree. But anyways, let's end the poll. It's got 179 votes. It's been going for 30 minutes. It's fairly divided. But still technically, YouTube does this thing with the polls where they round down, right? So I saw when I pressed end, the poll's at 179 votes. And I had asked, is this Silex Hunter tweet something or nothing? 53% of you said something, 47% of you said nothing. I know it says 52%, but it rounds down. Point is, something won by a few percentage points, but it's extremely close. So I would say we're fairly divided on if this tweet from Silex Hunter means anything regarding a hint for Metroid in the direct. I think it's very curious. So, I've already predicted that Metroid's going to be in the direct anyway, right? So I'm going to stick to my guns, but obviously we don't know for certain. Let's put a new poll though. This is similar, right? But so, do we think we see Metroid Prime for tomorrow? Right? Let's see where you guys are feeling on this one. All right. In the meanwhile, I got another super chat here. Also, a few actually. So, Free Metroid Hat with a super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Free Metroid Hat. They say, I want the rare replay collection and, of course, Metroid Prime 2 and 3 Remastered and Prime 4. I'm right there with you. A rare replay collection would be divine. So good. I'd love it. I'd be very, very happy with that. Even if we don't get rare replay, if they could continue releasing like a lot of different rare games on this, so that would be nice. Now, the thing about rare replays is that there are games that came out for like 360, for example, that we never got to play, like the 360 Perfect Dark, the Cameo game, which was originally in development for the Nintendo GameCube, but obviously was moved over when Rare was bought off by Microsoft. So yeah, I would love to see a rare replay so we can get games like that on Switch. I think that'd be really fun. I only played the demos of Cameo on 360, like as a kid in the stores. I always thought it was really cool. I would love to play it on a console. So hopefully something like that happens. I'd be in love with it. And then Prime 2 and 3 Remastered are a given, and Prime 4 is an extra given. Shoutouts to Boo Mini for gifting another membership. I wonder who got the gifted membership this time. Can I find it in the chat? No. I can't see squat. None of these. So can't see it. I'm supposed to see these colorful little buttons. Well, whoever got it, congratulations. I will check my YouTube feed so I can add you to the credits very soon. Mark Rochot with a super chat. Thank you for the super chat. I love thinking about how to evolve Metroid. Oh yeah. I'm right there with you. So let's talk about that for a little bit. How do we evolve Metroid? And specifically, we're referring to Metroid Prime 4, right? That's what we're talking about here. We've already seen the evolution of 2D Metroid, and there's certainly a conversation to be had on what you do with Metroid Dread sequel. Sure. But for Metroid Prime 4, beyond giving us more modern, fluid, agile movements, as we've seen with a lot of modern first-person shooters, like a dash, right? Like being able to slide dash, being able to run on walls and things like that. Kind of like a lot more parkour-like elements. Like I think that would work really well. But beyond that, what do we do? I've been playing a lot of Metroid Prime, and something I've noticed. I'm playing in hard mode, and if I'm not focused, it's pretty challenging. Like if I'm cautious, I'll be fine. But if I'm not cautious, like if I'm just kind of like dilly-dallying, because sometimes I might record some gameplay for Metroid Prime for a video when I know I'm going to talk about Metroid, and so I'll jump onto hard mode, Prime Remastered, and I'll run through for a few minutes, right? And I've died a couple times, and then I'm like, oh crap, I died. Oh, I never got to a save station. Oh, I have to do that all over again. And so that experience I completely forgot about from when I was a kid, because when I play on normal mode, I just blitz the game. I never die, right? Hard mode, if I'm not paying attention, I die sometimes. And so I get that feeling again. And so it's kind of like a Dark Souls-like feeling where like, oh, I died. I just lost all this progress, right? You kind of have to work through it again. And I'm not against that feeling, right? Like I think that's cool. And you look at something like Elden Ring, which has become a mainstream game now. I forget the latest update, but I know it's well above 20 million in sales. Like it's a big deal, mainstream game. So I don't think they necessarily have to go away from that for Metroid in order for it to reach a larger audience, right? So the thing about evolving the series isn't so much about watering it down and making it more casual, right? I think there's a lot of that fear when we go back to the Wii era. That's not what it's about. It's about just thinking of ways to make the game more fun. And yeah, is there a way to get it to make it more appealing to a larger audience, right? You look at Pikmin 4. They pulled back they actually brought the camera in closer, right? They made it feel more like a traditional third-person action adventure game. They brought in Ochi, and so they gave the player more options, a more interesting camera. They made the adventure more appealing to a larger audience, but still maintained that Pikmin core gameplay. And so what can they do for Metroid to kind of do something like that? I think fluid movements does help. I do think that that's sort of like missing a save station, and then having to kind of go back. Like I don't want them necessarily get rid of that, right? Like I don't know if I like the idea of an autosave. But maybe what they can do is ease traversal. So for example, if you get to a save station, once you get to it, you can fast travel back to any save station. So there is challenge with new progression, right? But if you're backtracking, you die, maybe you can lose progress, but you can always quickly fast travel. So like to other save stations. So if you're trekking new ground, that threat still exists of losing your progress. But if it's anything you've already kind of visited, you can fast travel. And so I think that might be a happy middle ground. That's my thinking. Fast travel hasn't really been around in Metroid games, so something like that I think would be cool. But, that's my take. Beyond that, it's tough because I also kind of feel like the game's going to be vaster, right? Something that there's a lot of things they wanted to do in prior Metroid Prime games, but there were limitations with hardware, or Nintendo said no. Like for Metroid Prime 3, apparently they wanted to incorporate bounties. And so I think that'd be a cool idea. And that's something that can bolster up the depth of the game, the density of the game, giving you more things to do, right? So you could have side quests essentially, right? Except they're bounties. So you could be exploring a more vaster world this time around. And you may get like side quests, bounties, like, hey, look, there is like this monster running amok in this sector, right? Can you go and help us out there? And maybe sometimes there will be some Federation troopers remaining, sometimes not, because I understand they don't want you to be surrounded by people all the time, because there should be that sense of isolation. But I also think there can be pockets of time where you're not totally isolated. You know, you can have both. And so that would be interesting if they were to incorporate bounties like that, especially if there's a larger world where there's a lot more to explore. And going back to my whole fast travel idea of once you get to a save station, you can fast travel between save stations. That would then work well with that bounty system, because then you're like, oh, okay, so there's this bounty in this part of the world, right? That's like the second area you explored, and you're now like in the fifth. You can use the save stations to kind of get back a little bit. And there's still traversal to be had once you get there, because it's not like save stations are literally everywhere, right? There's still space between them, and there's a threat, but once you get to one, you can get to the other. I think that would be something that'd be cool to kind of incorporate. I do kind of anticipate larger environments. I don't know if it's going to be open world, but there's going to be larger areas. There will be areas that aren't so large, you know, but there's going to be a little bit of a mix. I think a really good way to look at it is like Dark Souls, right? Or even Elden Ring has a little bit of it, where, you know, you have your caves and caverns, right? You have your hidden paths that lead to other areas, but you also have vast open areas to explore. Maybe Elden Ring's a bit too much. Dark Souls is a little bit smaller scale, but I think there could be that. And if there is that, how does movement work? I mean, Samus says move fast, so Samus is going to be like speed boosting around everywhere. That might be kind of neat, but I've kind of thought that, hey, what if like there are mounts, or Samus uses her ship, right? Like, what if you can use your ship to fly around a little bit? That would be neat. Of course, you know, if you can fly around, like, what's the limitation on that, right? Think it depends, because maybe is progression more so about digging deeper into the island? Not the island, but the planet, or is it about going further around the map, right? Because in a lot of Metroid games, it's not so much about getting to the area that's like laterally away from you from like the X or Y coordinate. It's about getting deeper, right? So like think like Tears of the Kingdom, right? Tears of the Kingdom has a very wide map horizontally, right? But vertically there's a lot. So as well, but maybe for Metroid there's even more so. So you could dig deeper, and then that way you wouldn't really do much. You can't fly there, right? You have to find a way to get deep down there. So maybe there's something to that idea. But an idea that I've really fallen in love with is kind of go back to how Samus is in tune with nature. You know, in the Metroid Prime trilogy, like you can scan a lot of things, you can scan a lot of fauna, and I always thought that was cool. Then they go, you know, even deeper than that, right? Like you look at Super Metroid, how she saved the animals. Maybe you can establish a relationship with some of the wildlife. Maybe you can find some alien mounts and you can ride them, right? So there could be a little bit of that, which I think would be really cool. And they focus on this level of interaction with the environment that can help your immersion, help the world to feel more like a living, breathing alien world to explore. So I think that'd be really cool. Anyways, those are some thoughts on how I think they can evolve the Metroid series. Actually, one more. I'll just touch on it. Combat, right? I think combat needs to be more than just orbiting around an enemy, right? I think, you know, that system was made for the original Metroid Prime on Nintendo GameCube, and they've added dual analog controls, which has kind of helped a little bit, but it was built for, you know, like quickly locking on and orbiting around enemies, because the game was more about exploration and combat was like, you know, secondary. Still good, but it was secondary. I think, you know, they're gonna have to rethink that a little bit. Looking at maybe something like Doom might be a great way to kind of envision how combat could work. You look at what they do with Doom Guy and how there's a lot of melee attacks and different sequences where he deals with aliens, right? The Martians, and like he tears them apart. Now, I'm not saying in a Metroid Prime 4, they're going to have literally like blood and skeletons and all that, right? Like I think it'll be a little bit toned down. The Metroid is darker than most other Nintendo franchises, so there'll still be some dark things. But going back to Other M, where we saw Samus doing a lot of grapples and flipping around enemies, maybe there will be more opportunities to enter sequences like that, kind of like in Doom, where you do a melee attack, and maybe sometimes it goes into third person, And if it's a bigger enemy, you can see Samus running along its back until she blasts it in the face, right? Or maybe it's a space pirate and she'll grab it by the arm, twist it behind its shoulder, and then slam it to the ground. Like, I think sequences like that could be very interesting, but also keeping in mind, just like how combat works in modern first-person shooters now. Like, there's obviously a lot of things to balance there, but I'm definitely expecting some changes along those lines. We'll see what happens, though. So that was an interesting tangent. Love them. Boo Mini, the membership went to Joy CJ. Thank you for pointing that out. I was trying to find it. I couldn't see it. Thank you for pointing that out. Joycey, see you in the credits. All right. Going back to the chat. Arnell asks me, how much of Mario will we see in this Direct? Question. So my prediction is that we see Mario Party. I think it's been a few years. It's been 3, right? And we had Super Mario Party 2018, Mario Party Superstars 2021. It's 2024. It's the end of the Switch generation. We've seen a lot of Mario Parties come out at the end of Nintendo generations. So I do think that it makes sense from a timing perspective. There is also that codename leak that seems to hard imply Mario Party's been in the works. So I do sort of expect that to happen. So we'll see. But that's kind of like the Mario game I'm thinking. You look at the bevy of Mario-related games we've gotten recently, I think Mario's going to slow down a little bit. Mario Party is the Mario game, is basically up. Like, can they find a way to fit another? I'm sure they can. But I'm not expecting, like, anything else. Like, I'll throw out this idea for Mario. I'm not saying it comes out this year, but it's not out of the question. Super Mario Galaxy 2. I think that's a game that Nintendo could easily, use as a remaster for Switch, and people would really enjoy that. Maybe that also somehow ties into them bringing back the different games from 3D All-Stars, but individually through the eShop. I think there's something to be said with that, but I also kind of feel like that's something they could introduce maybe next year, right? Or even in 2026, because I still think Switch will be relevant in 2026. It will have waned significantly as Switch 2 is picking up a lot of steam by that point, but still in 2026, there will be Switch owners who have not moved on to Switch 2, who will still want games, and a remaster of Galaxy 2 might make a lot of sense, especially with the Mario movie on the way, right? But in terms of like this Direct, I'm really just expecting Mario Party. That's kind of it in terms of Mario stuff. I just noticed I have another super chat here from Mark Rochot, continuing on with this Metroid discussion. Fix screw attack and do more with Morph Ball. Interesting. So, what would you want changed about the screw attack? I kind of liked how in 3 you could use it to fly around, which I thought was really cool. But screw attacks are usually always like pretty late game abilities. I mean, once you get the screw attack, it's kind of crazy how strong you are. And I love the screw attack because once you have it, like, you can basically just blitz through things, especially in the 2D games. And so I'm okay with the screw attack still being a late game power up, because once you have it, you can basically fly around, destroy everything in the environment. And so I'm not against that. But I also, I agree with you on doing more with the Morph Ball. What can they do with the Morph Ball? Man, I'm not even sure. I feel like I have to think more on that one. I mean, they could just have more Morph Ball puzzles, but maybe the Morph Ball can have different transformations. Like maybe, like it can work as a key. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to go in that direction though, because like you could treat it kind of like how they handled. So like in Star Fox Zero, they had a few different vehicle options. There was one where you can move around, if I remember correctly, they could move around like a little like robot thing and interact with certain devices. That was pretty slow paced though, so maybe they don't want to go in that direction. I got a thing on the Morph Ball thing, but that I'm not against that idea, but I got to sit on that idea for a little bit. I'm not sure what they would do to make. Actually, here's one thing. So the Morph Ball, something that bothers me about Morph Ball is that when you're in it, you cannot control the camera. I think you should be able to control the camera. Because sometimes I understand you could argue it's part of the challenge. You can't see where you're going. You got to be very careful. And I think there's value there, but I still think you can have that challenge while still being able to move around the camera. So yes, it's maybe a simple change, but I think it's an important one. Morph ball mode, when you enter that, you should be able to orbit around the morph ball free roam camera as you do in most third-person games. So I think that's an important change that is not available in the Metroid games. So yeah, it's important. All right, moving on here. By the way, guys, I did say it's going to be a relatively short stream, so I am going to start wrapping it up. So any final things you want to bring up or discuss, let me know. Because I am going to close out here in a few minutes. Super Chris adds me. Thank you for modding, by the way. Super Chris says, I'm looking forward to your reactions for tomorrow's Direct. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's Direct. It's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited. It's going to be crazy. Maybe. Looking here, Robert Powell says, screw attacks need tighter controls. I can see that. It approaches screw attack to act as a gear, rotate entire structures to change and open up new paths. That sounds exciting. Laser, first person screw attack, please. Whoa, that'd be kind of visually crazy. I'm not against it. AB James, razor ball on morph ball mode. Samus begins to spin like an active saw blade and can burrow into certain terrain. Ooh, burrowing. That's an interesting idea. But I'll go further. If it's a razor ball, maybe you could like grind things down, you know? Like maybe like imagine there's a boulder and like you can literally like spin into it, and if you start like basically like just grinding away at the dirt, like that could be interesting. That there's some okay. There's some idea. You're opening up you guys are definitely opening my mind up to more possibilities here. I see. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That'd be cool. I can even envision like where you're going so fast against something that you start to see heat build up, right? And you start to turn like yellow and orange. That'd be super cool. RNL adds me, should fans be hyped throughout this whole Direct? Listen, I'm not the person that's going to tell you, hey, this Direct is going to be bad. You shouldn't be excited. But, and I definitely think that we should be excited for this because, this is an event we've been waiting for 9 months. They're going to tell us about things that they want us to, that they would imagine we're going to want to buy, right? Like, if you're a Nintendo fan, a Nintendo Direct should be exciting. I don't think that's a crazy premise. Now, at the same time, I do think we should try and maintain an open mind because, well, you don't necessarily know what's going to be there, right? Maybe it's not Metroid Prime 4. Maybe it's not 2D Zelda. Maybe it's something else instead, right? But maybe that something else is also pretty good. And so you should just kind of look at it and be willing to give it a try. Or at least consider it, right? I'm not saying you should buy something if you don't know about it, right? I'm just saying, like, be open to different ideas. But yeah, I think we should be hyped. Just be, open-minded. Caleb Redencheck, some form of a speed booster upgrade while still in first person. Huh. Man, you guys are opening up my mind to different ideas. Robert brings up morph ball cloaking, laser morph ball grapple hook, grappling with the wall in morph ball mode. These are some very interesting ideas. Wow. That's okay. Brony Pony Productions asks me, do you think a new console could get revealed for the NSO service? If so, which one do you think is more likely, DS or GameCube? Or do you think they'll add Dreamcast or something crazier, OG Xbox? Yeah, it's an interesting question. I personally do not expect DS Nintendo NSO Online, just because I think this you're gonna have, like, how do you do that and it feels good on the system? That's just, like, I'm not saying it's impossible. It just feels like there has to be a lot of workarounds and it wouldn't be ideal. So I'm not sure they would do that. But if they release a peripheral with it, then maybe that makes it a little bit more salvageable. But also, how many people are they really reasonably expecting to buy that? So I'm not sure. GameCube, I do not expect. I think there's a lot of GameCube games that Nintendo's going back to remake and remaster right now. So I think it's a ways off. I think it could happen someday to NSO. And to that end, I'm not saying DS can never happen either. I just feel like they got to figure out a way to have a form factor that can work with DS, So I almost wonder if maybe it makes more sense to just consider some, like, I've thought about, like, maybe instead of like doing NSO for DS, 3DS, maybe at some point you do like a DS Classic where you just release a handheld. And maybe it is compatible to Switch. Maybe you can connect to the dock so you can play the games on TV. But it's a separate device you buy that just has like the 20 best DS games, and the same for the 3DS someday. And they're upscaled to HD, and it looks cool. Like, I almost feel like a DS Classic and a 3DS Classic that are compatible with the Switch or Switch 2 make more sense than bringing them to NSO just because of the form factor. That's my thought on it, and I would love that. That's just me, though. GameCube, again, I think they're going to wait on that. I do kind of feel like something crazier like a Dreamcast or even OG Xbox is more plausible than DS or GameCube. I've seen the conversation that for Dreamcast, because Sega is currently focusing on remaking some of their games, that diminishes the chance of adding Dreamcast NSO. I don't know. I don't know if that's guaranteed because some of these games aren't remakes, they're new releases, right? So still kind of going back makes sense. So there's a whole bunch of other games. And you can time them, right? Like maybe you don't release those specific NSO titles till later for Dreamcast. But I think Dreamcast makes a lot of sense, and because we already have other Sega platforms for NSO, Dreamcast is pretty plausible, and you don't even need analog triggers for that, if I'm not mistaken. So Dreamcast would work well. Plus, there are Dreamcast games that had multiplayer and online, right? So NSO, which gives you that, there's a good fit there. Same logic applies with Xbox as well. That would be extremely crazy, though. I think in terms of Xbox, more likely they would just remaster certain games as opposed to giving us Xbox on NSO. But man, if I'm going to rank them, I'd say Dreamcast, Xbox, GameCube, DS in terms of like likelihood, in my opinion. Maybe none of them are extremely likely. I'm not to going back to that part. I'm not sure I'm expecting a new NSO service to be announced during this direct. I am expecting NSO announcements. We should get more like N64 games and things like that, but I don't think we're getting another platform announcement soon. But I'd be so hyped for a Dreamcast NSO. That'd be so cool. Can you imagine playing Soul Calibur? Oh man, that'd be amazing. Let's see here. Oh, another super chat. Marcus Show, thank you for the super chat, Mark. Mark says Streets of Rage 5 or Golden Axe remake trailers. Oh, that'd be cool. I don't know how much I'm expecting those, but I'd be happy to see them. I'd be very happy to see them. I feel like a lot of the Sega games are coming to Switch too, if not all of them. Like all these different franchises are going back to. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Yamo ASAP Expo NSO is beyond crazy, but it sounds so good though, right? Caleb Redencheck asks me, I believe that Echoes and Corruption are just as deserving of equally quality remasters as Prime. What is your stance on this? Are they deserving? Oh, yes. They are deserving. Or are they going to receive the treatment? That is another question. Because I absolutely think they will. I just don't know. Like, I don't know if Nintendo wants to run into the potential issue of like, hey, let's put the same work, because Prime 1 Remastered is not a simple job. That was an impressive like thing they did there. They did the same for Prime 2. Like, how many people are gonna buy it? I think maybe, with the hype of Metroid Prime 4, that can increase that sales there. And maybe they even announce like a sale for Prime Remastered to kind of boost that sales as well, with the Prime 4 hype. I think once Prime 4 gets shown up, that will increase Metro hype overall, and more people will go back to these games. So maybe there's something to consider there. And maybe they don't want to look like doo-doo. That there's something to consider with that. Yeah. I guess my issue is that we don't have any like the rumor is that Prime 2 and 3 are coming, but that Prime 1 was the one that was the big effort, and that Prime 2 wouldn't be as big of an effort. That's the rumor, right? It's been around for a while from Jeff Grubb. But yeah, I agree they deserve it. I'm just not sure if they will do it. I think it'll be interesting to see how they handle multiplayer in Prime 2. Do they give us online play, or they just leave it as local? I'm very curious to see what they do with that. And maybe what they can do is that like they remaster Prime 2 and 3, but it's not like it's more than just a basic upscale, but it's just not as much work as 1, but it's still a significant amount of work. So they still look a lot better. Just not by as much. And when you consider that Prime 2 and 3 are better looking games overall compared to 1 because they were, more advanced games, maybe that helps to sort of leverage the gap a little bit there. Link Exists asked me, Big Bro, what you thinking the odds are of finally seeing Metroid Prime 2 Remaster? I think I mentioned this earlier. I think it's high. It really comes down to, does Nintendo want to show off Prime 4? Like, I think there's a chance we see Prime 2 and we don't see Prime 4, but I think ultimately, I would say it's above 50%. I'm predicting it. Brony Pony Productions, do you think a new Mario and Luigi game can get announced tomorrow? Anything is possible, right? I'm going to err on the side of no. I think we're going to get one at some point, though, right? The reason why I'm thinking no is mainly because we got Super Mario RPG in November. We just got Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door last month. I think it's already weird that 2 different Mario RPG titles were divided by half a year. I don't think we're going to have a third coming another 6 months later or something. I think they're going to space that out a little bit, but I think that's the kind of game that you could see come out for Switch 1 maybe next year or the year after. Obviously, you can still play on Switch 2 through backwards compatibility. So, I think it's on the card, especially based off the Mario survey. I just don't think it's going to come that soon. Andres in the chat, not me, another Andres says Elemental Morph Ball. Okay. Maybe almost like applying the beams to the Morph Ball. Ooh, can you imagine? So like you could almost have like maybe elemental bombs or an elemental sort of shielding that you can apply from your beam weapon. That would be cool. And that kind of extends off this idea of doing the grapple hook from your Morph Ball. So what if like some of the abilities that Samus has in her normal hunter mode, they are repurposed somewhat in Morph Ball mode. And so Morph Ball all of a sudden has a variety of different applications. That's cool. Love that. Having Hope asks me, do you think they will shadow drop Prime 2 and 3 and then they show off a small teaser of Prime 4? I think so. I'm not... my opinion is they're going to stagger Prime 2 and 3 a little bit. I kind of am not feeling a shadow drop for these games. But, I mean, if they're like Pikmin 1 and 2, where there's not that much work done, maybe they are shadow drop. But I also think that those kind of games they would put out until closer to release of Prime 4. So I just think there's a lot of angles here, right? Like, if Prime 4 is coming out this year, then it's more conceivable. I think we're getting them. I just don't think they're going to be shadow dropped. And I also think we're getting a teaser for Prime 4. That's my opinion, right? They can shadow drop Prime 2. I'll take it. But I'm not expecting it. I do think we're getting some sort of Nintendo shadow drop, though. And maybe it's Prime 2, maybe it's Luigi's Mansion 1, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's F-Zero GX. I don't know. Like, there's options. Cold Brew, you just beat 1,000 Year Door. I still have a lot to go. I'm still only in Chapter 2. I've had a lot going on. RNL asks me, will we see a reveal of Tamagotchi Life on Switch and how it handled this game? I'm not a big Tamagotchi Life guy, so just want to make that part clear. No shade to those who are into it. It's just not my personal cup of tea. Like, I didn't like Metopia either. I didn't even try it. It's not something I'm interested in. But I imagine that the way they handle Metopia is how they would probably handle Tamagotchi Life. So whatever that is, that's kind of what I'm thinking. And, you know, from what I saw the trailer of Metopia on Switch, like, it looked like they did a pretty significant visual enhancement. Now, the fear there, right, is that Grezzel's behind Metopia. So would they also be behind Tamagotchi Life? Problem with that is then who would do Zelda? Of course, that doesn't have to be the same developer. Summer Toon Link. Do you think Wind Waker might get announced tomorrow? I do think it might, but my prediction is 2D Zelda. I'm thinking we get a new 2D Zelda game instead of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. But, you know, I do believe all the rumors. They've come from so many different places, so many incredible people who have inside knowledge over the years. They exist. We don't know why they haven't released them yet. I think at some point they will. Switch isn't done, right? Even when Switch 2 comes out next year, it's going to be around for a couple of years. There's still opportunity for them to come out. I'm leaning 2D Zelda, though. I think that makes more sense to push their holidays. I personally be excited for a new game, but I also don't know what's going to happen. And I wouldn't outrule Wind Waker totally, nor would I outrule Twilight Princess. That's why I put them in my bingo cards. They're definitely possibilities. Paladin, what if they decide to leave out the multiplayer in Prime 2? I personally wouldn't mind, but that's just me. Also, it may not make sense if Prime 4 has the feature. You know, I've thought about that too. I think that people would be annoyed if they didn't do it. I think it depends. Like, if they release like Prime 2 and 3 like bundled together, but they have the same level of visual work as the first one, then I can maybe like be like, all right, okay, right? Or, I mean, even it like, if they were to take out the multiplayer in Prime 2, they better still have like the visual enhancements of Prime 1. Like, it would be weird if there's not really, you know, they strip the game of its multiplayer. They don't really visually enhance the game. And it's just kind of like, hey, here are dual analog controls. The game's been upscaled. I would be very confused. So, like, I would think that if they are stripping away the multiplayer, they're at least giving the game a significant visual overhaul. So I almost feel like instead, what they would do is like, hey, let's put in let's make this multiplayer online for Prime 2, and that kind of adds more value to the game, and it kind of helps it make more sense. And maybe they from that perspective, they think it has value. You don't necessarily need to believe they need to visually enhance it as much because there's value in simply adding online multiplayer. So I don't know. I wouldn't predict that they would remove the online, but it's definitely a thought that's crossed my mind. Brony Pony Productions adds me. Do you know about the Switch Attach leak? What if the Switch 2 has a detachable screen that you dock and play like a Wii U, or in proto mode you play with two screens like a DS? I've heard of the Switch Attach name in the YouTube survey. We definitely covered it here before. I don't think it's. I mean, it's interesting, and there are patents of the detachable screen, right? So, like, could Nintendo do that? I guess. It just feels like a lot of work just to be able to play DS and 3DS games. So I'm not super convinced. But, you know, I thought of this. What if what you can do is there's like they release like a dongle, like a little piece of plastic that you can use to attach your phone to your controller, right? Or the bottom of your Switch. And it's like to your controller if you're playing in TV mode, to your Switch if you're playing in portable mode, and it gives you that second screen. Then so all of a sudden you have that experience where you have a touch screen because of your phone. Almost everyone has a phone, right? So like
that makes so much sense to me. Like if there's a way to like, if you want like that to happen, that seems like a cheaper way to kind of do that. Sync up your phone to your Switch 2 and you can get that experience. That makes more sense to me. I feel like that would just, if you add a detachable screen to like the system itself, that raises the cost of the console so much. It just doesn't seem like the most efficient way to invest your resources to and improve an overall experience, right? So that's kind of my take on it. But, I've been surprised by Nintendo before. I didn't think they could pull off the Switch when we heard the rumors. I thought they would go in a different direction, and they showed off the Switch, and I was like, whoa, they made this work. So we'll see. But also then there was the Wii U, right? And that didn't work out so well. Yamo ASAP. Like I said about Prime 4, I don't think they're showing it because they said they were showcasing games for 2024. So it's interesting you say that. I think it's a good point. Yeah. Like, if you don't think Prime 4 is coming out this year, then I can understand your take on that. And I agree. That's certainly a possibility. But also, they said they are focusing on 2024. What that means is, yeah, there's going to be a focus on showing 2024 games, but there can still be things beyond that. And pretty much every time they have games that are beyond that. This is pretty consistent. So I expect that there will be games for 2025 in this Direct. Most of them will be for 2024, but some of them will not be. And I think Prime 4 will be one of those that's for 2025. But I understand your take, and that's certainly possible. I already talked about how I think Prime 4 is like going to be a cross-gen game, and I think it makes sense to start showcasing it now. Start to act as marketing for Switch 2. You're building up the hype, but then you show off an enhanced version for Switch 2 a few months from now with the Switch 2 reveal. You build on that. People are excited for it on Switch 1 and Switch 2, and it leads to great success when it does come out next year. That's my thinking. AB James, a new 2D Zelda has the potential to be a 10 million seller, especially if a remake can do just under 7 million. I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I think it's a big seller. That's one of the reasons why I think, man, like they need a game to help with their holiday sales, and 2D Zelda makes so much sense, and it would be hype. I'd be super excited for it. So, yes, I totally agree. And it wouldn't get in way. It really wouldn't get in the way of like, oh man, they should save this for Switch 2. No, it's 2D Zelda. So yeah, I so agree. Metroid Jones. Hey, Andres. Hope tomorrow's show will be good. My main justification for thinking it'll be a big show is we didn't have a first-party direct in February, and we have an open calendar August or December. I think those are very sound reasonings. I see you there. I think those are good reasons to think that it'll be a solid show. I agree. All right. Getting ready to wrap up here. We are going to have a large show early tomorrow. We're streaming 1 hour before the show starts, so I'm going to answer a couple more quick questions and then call it a night, my friends. Chill Tunes asks me, what has been your favorite memory from the journey to this Nintendo Direct this year? What has been my favorite memory from the journey to the Nintendo Direct this year? Now, I think it's been tough as a content creator because, yeah, I mean, truth be told, there isn't like I have ideas for videos I want to make. But also, because of the kind of content I cover, people don't necessarily want to watch me talk about like the psychology of Link and why he's quiet, right? Like, I made a video about that. But so in terms of creating content, it's been challenging. When there's new games to talk about and analyze, that's a lot more material, right? So it's been challenging in that regard as a content creator. In terms of games, like I didn't buy another Code Recollection. I didn't buy Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I thought I might buy Princess Peach Showtime, but no. When I played the demo, it just felt too simple to me. I was excited for Endless Ocean until I heard the reviews. It was too simple for me as well. Paper Around 1,000 Year Door, I have been playing and I've been enjoying. And so, if we're talking about just like Nintendo things this year so far, I would probably say it is when I finally started playing Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door. And like, so I started the game, I see the red Nintendo logo. And like, just kind of like when I started the game and I saw the visuals, I heard the music, started playing it, this sense that I got was like, oh, this is a quality magical Nintendo adventure. Like I have that level of excitement for the game, and I know I haven't progressed that much, but I am playing it, and I'll soon probably be diving further into it. I would say that's been my favorite memory this far in terms of like Nintendo stuff leading up to the Direct. Just kind of like that excitement of starting this magical Nintendo adventure. So yeah, that's been it for me, I would say. But I mean, yeah, it's been a good year, just a challenging one. Link exists asked me. It was your copy and paste. We're good. Don't worry about it. Let's see. Well, the chat is jumping all over the place. Brony Pony, do you think we'll eventually get a remake of Paper Mario 64? I had no idea. We just got Thousand Year Door, so my brain's kind of in on that. Mario 64 is on NSO, so there's that. I'm not saying that doesn't mean it can't remake it, but I just think there's a lot of other games they can focus on remaking before that. I think, I think we should be thinking about the next Paper Mario experience being a new Paper Mario. So if they go back to remake Paper Mario 64, it'll be years from now. That's my take. Link exists. I love your psychology video. Please keep them up. I will. They're not done, but I think I'll revisit it at some point. Paladin, if we see 2D Zelda, what would you want the key mechanic to be? Right. That's man, it's tough. I don't know. There's so many different directions they can go. I have an idea, but I don't think it's what they're gonna do. So like in Link's Awakening, yes, it was a top-down Zelda, but it is like a 3D environment, right? And so there are some times, like for like the key art and stuff, they show like the camera pulls down a little bit. You kind of see a little bit more of the environment as if it was like a 3D Zelda. And so I kind of feel like for this game, right, they can maybe have a kind of similar thing, like a perspective change moment briefly where you can see the environment in 3D and you can sort of interact with it in that way, maybe aim and shoot at things. And so it's almost kind of like an Other M thing, right? Like you play Metroid Other M, it's side-scrolling, but there are moments you pull back behind the shoulder and you aim around. So I could see maybe something cool like that. I don't know if that's like a crazy thing, but off the top of my head, just me trying to think about like something cool they could do that would be neat. I think that would be very neat, and it would show like the work they put into realizing the world. So you could see it from different angles. All right, I think that's it for now, guys. So again, tomorrow I will be live streaming at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time for that pre-show of the Nintendo Direct. Here, let me end this poll real quick. I had asked earlier, so do we think we see Metroid Prime 4 tomorrow? 65% of you said yes of the 228 votes we received. So we shall see. But with that, everyone, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for likes. Thank you for coming by. And tomorrow, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a fun one. But that's all for now. Take care.